Well, hi, hello. How are you out there in internet land? My name is Brian Trippett. I am the Front Porch Conservative, and welcome to the Newsroom. This fun little thing that we occasionally do through the week where we get together, we talk about the news, we give our views, and we try to make sense out of this crazy thing that we call life. My name is Brian Trippett. I am sometimes known in social media as the Front Porch Conservative. I am also known by various aliases. For example, I am known as the Beau in the Chapeau. I am sometimes called the fine fella in the fedora. Every so often, you'll hear me referred to as the common man with common sense. But in this moment, above all else, and as always, I am your host. We are on X, we are on Rumble, and we are on that quaint little alternative social media platform known as YouTube. I hear they're making quite a go of it, struggling little company that they are. Anyway, we are all over the place wherever we can be found on social media, as many places as will have us, and some places that won't. Sometimes you just got to sneak in. But anyway, if you're not a subscriber to my channel, please do me some favors as always. Number one, subscribe to my channel on YouTube and on Rumble. And while you're at it, give me a follow on X. Also, leave a thumbs up on both sites tonight, on both Rumble and on YouTube, and leave a comment. Those two things together, believe it or not, really do help with the algorithm and help push this channel out there to people who may not have ever seen it before. So always appreciate it when you do that sort of thing. While you're at it, share the link around with your friends. Tell them to get on in here. Let's have some fun. It's going to be a fun little Tuesday night, and we are ready to roll. And let's see who all is in the house so far. I know who's been supplying the memes. Bless their hearts. Them boys been busy, but we'll say hello to them here in a minute. Who else have we got here tonight? AH is in the house. Good evening, AH. Glad to have you here. Let's see. Yes, here's one of them wing nuts. Hello, TBA, and welcome back. I read your note to your counterpart as to why you've been absent on Saturday. My condolences, and hope you and your family are doing well. Let's see who else is here. There he is, the merry meme maker himself, WWG1. Hello, sir. Glad to have you in the house tonight. Miss Lana is here already. Hello, you good-looking thing, you. Mwah. Hello, darling. Oh, goodness. Everybody's starting to settle in. It's going to be a nice crowd tonight. Let's see. They're coming in on X. They're coming in on YouTube. They're coming in on Wumble. So, yes, settle in, folks. We got a lot to talk about tonight, and glad to have all of you here as always. Oh, goodness me. If I am not quite at full theatrical normality in terms of performance tonight, my apologies in advance, because I have been recovering from something that I got on Saturday, and I tell you what, oh my Lord, this thing about put me down. I finished the live stream on Saturday, and I was just sitting down here in my chair, just kind of puttering about as I'm prone to do, and all of a sudden I just started getting cold. Now I was being a bit foolish in that I didn't have my feet wrapped up or what have you. I thought, well, I'm just feeling chill. I'll just go upstairs and lay down. No sooner did I get upstairs that I made a beeline for the bathroom and started praying to the porcelain god. Wound up doing that 2 more times through the day. I mean, there is supposedly, and I have no reason to disbelieve the person who told me this, but there is supposedly a 24-hour GI bug that's been going around, and apparently I got it. And let me tell you something, it took everything out of me on Saturday. I'm just now starting to feel normal. Monday I worked, but it's like, Sunday was, and, but wow. Yeah, it is. It is. It is. Oh, for heaven's sake. No, I am not doing that. That is ridiculous. That is I am untoward, sir. Very untoward. But yeah, to answer your question, yeah, it's about the second. That's about 3 weeks. The first one was COVID. I'm assuming that what I had Saturday was that GI bug, and it was just bad. I mean, did I drop? Actually, yes. Believe it or not, 3 pounds. And I put my vest on this the other. Ooh, this thing fits a whole lot better. Not that I recommend, uh, doing it the way I'm doing it if you're trying to get into a better wardrobe, but still. Uh, but yeah, I did lose some weight out of all this, and let me tell you something. My stomach is still trying to get recovered from this. I cannot eat in the same amounts that I otherwise would. Um, uh, Gastrointestinal. My God, he's here all week, folks, and try the veal. Yeah, yeah. But oh, I totally agree with that. No, that is, yeah, consolation prize is a good way of looking at it. Uh, well, the funny thing was, it wasn't the latter as it was the former. Although the latter did happen early Sunday morning. And yeah, folks, if you're looking for a way to lose weight, I don't recommend picking up this GI bug to do it. It's just murder. Okay. Absolute murder. Anyway, glad to have you guys here with us tonight. Welcome in wherever you are out there, whether you're on X, whether you're on YouTube, whether you're on Rumble. We're glad to have y'all here. And by the way, you folks out on X, okay, don't be a stranger. If you got the ability to drop a comment, let us know who you are. Tell us where you're from. Tell us what brings you here tonight. And we'll do our best to try and make this a fun and entertaining live stream for everybody. So glad to have y'all here. Let's get down to business. Now, for those of you who have never been here before, we like to start our show with something that we call the Merry Memes. And for those of you who are old enough to remember Saturday morning cartoons, you may remember watching the Looney Tunes that the Warner Brothers folks made many years ago. Were done in reruns forever. Well, we like what we do now to the Merry Memes. Those memes that are funny, educational, maybe a little of both, maybe satirical, maybe just downright. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. But anyway, we like to start the live stream with that. But this one we're going to start off with. This has nothing to do with being mean, and it has nothing to do with necessarily anything else. This is just good old-fashioned patriotism. Now, let me ask you guys a question. Ain't that a beautiful sight? Look at that. That is the American men's hockey team from the 2026 Olympics gathered at the White House, hanging out with the prez. And I'm sorry, I don't care who you are, like Trump, not like Trump, that's fine, up to you. That's just a good picture. That really is a cool picture. And absolutely wonderful. The resolute desk, everything else about it. Very nice indeed. And heck yeah, that ought to give you a swell of patriotism, or I hope it does anyway. Now, that being said, there were a lot of images from the 2026 Winter Olympics that are going to forever be in our memories, and they should. The Americans winning gold in men's hockey, the ladies winning gold in hockey. And it was a pretty good Olympics. I don't think we won the overall medal count, but I think we had a very decent showing. Now, that said, however, there are some images that you didn't see, but really you should have. And boy, are they reflective of the times in which we find ourselves. For example, I do totally agree with this. Let me enlarge that just to make it a little easier for you to read. Yeah, that things are kind of effed up when there's a drone chasing a Ukrainian down the slalom, the slalom thing, man. I don't know about you guys, but that is just wrong in so many different ways. So there you go, folks. But yeah, when a drone's chasing a guy from Ukraine down the bobsled thing or the slalom, yeah, the times in which we live are truly effed up. Yike. Indeed. Well, the State of the Union is tonight, and a lot of different subjects are going to be talked about, not just by the president, but also by the members of the Congress, because you guys know how this thing works, right? The president finishes his speech. The members of Congress go out in statutory hall or wherever they might find themselves, the rotunda, and they will give comments to the press. Whoever's got a camera and a microphone, they're going to find those members of Congress and the Senate. They're going to find their way in front of somebody so they can give their opinion about what they think. Well, which isn't much, but they don't think often. Anyway, you get my point. Well, one of the things going to be talked about is the voter ID law that's being kicked around right now, the Save America Act. And the Republicans have a very unique take on all of this. As a matter of fact, they're, according to the Babylon Bee, they're warning everybody that if they do wind up passing a voter ID law, it could absolutely ruin the plans that Congress has to hand the keys over to the Democrats in November. Now, I don't know about you, but that seems like a very strange way of talking about this voter ID bill. Maybe I'm wrong, but whatever, my friends. Mike Johnson's got one of those looks on his face. Is like, should we tell them that they ought to vote for voter ID? Should we tell them not to vote for voter ID? What should we do? I don't know. Strange expression on that boy's face. Of course, he's got a strange expression on his face all the time. And not to be outdone, by the way. Not to be outdone. Aside from talking about the voter ID law, there's also going to be, no doubt, discussions tonight about the jailing of journalists, particularly Don Lemon, that sort of thing. Well, again, from our friends at the Babylon Bee, this headline came out today. Experts are warning that journalists could be on a slippery slope to arresting politicians. I'm sorry. Journalists could be the slippery slope to arresting politicians and other people who deserve it. I don't know, man. There might be something to that. There might be some truth to that. You never know. I mean, I don't know where the folks at the Babylon Bee find all these expert studies, but they come up with some really good stuff, man. Really good stuff. I'm just saying. All right, what else do we have here? Oh, speaking of studies. Look, in America, we're always trying to figure out why people have the attitudes that they do. Why do people have the hard-bitten, hard-driven, deep-seated emotions that they do? Well, on one particular subject, a new study has come out which kind of explains why it is that Islamophobia is still as prevalent as it is in the United States. And according to the terms of the study, Islamophobia may be partially caused by Muslims killing people all the time. Now, I don't know that I would have released this study right out at the beginning of Ramadan, which is the Muslim holiday that we now find ourselves in. But, scientific facts are scientific facts. So, you got to tell the truth wherever you can. And if it turns out that, according to this study, that's what's causing Islamophobia, well, we, the American people, need to be serious, look it straight in the eye, and talk about it. So there you go, folks. There you go. Speaking of Ramadan. Oh, no reason to be sorry, my dear. We knew you were going to be here tonight. Mwah. Hello, darling. Glad to have you in the house. And, let me tell you something. X is really showing up strong. Those folks over there on X, they are absolutely jumping in the seats. We're glad to have y'all. And like I said, you folks over there on X, don't be strangers now. If you got the ability to drop a comment, let's find out who you are and where you're from and what brings you here tonight. So, we'd like to have you become part of Fedora Nation on a regular basis. So, please feel free. Tell us who you are. We love you. Ain't nobody going to get mad at you. Now, if you choose not to say anything, we still love you anyway. Just to let you know. So there you go. Anyway, as I was saying, we've entered the Muslim holiday of Ramadan. And, look, we are a Judeo-Christian nation, so anytime that, religions rub up against each other, as it were, there's always going to be a certain amount of friction. Well, in the name of trying to live in peace, we're always trying to find ways to coexist with our fellow man, even though we may not agree with them on the question of, God or religion or how they express their religious faith, etc. And in that spirit, many Christians around the country are trying to find ways to reach out to their Muslim brothers and sisters and try to help them get along. Well, someone came up with a novel idea, but I don't know that this is going to work. Offering pulled pork sandwiches at $2.99 a piece for Ramadan. I call me crazy, but I don't see this one working out real well. Again, I am no expert. I am no expert on the Islamic religion. I will freely confess that. But from what I know, I don't see this. Yeah, I don't see this one working out real well. Yeah, I think this is one of those ideas that ought to be quietly and politely shelved. You'll take two of them. Oh, okay. Well, uh, okay. Whatever floats your boat. Okay, if that makes you happy, if that snaps your fingers, well, have at it, sister. Who am I to stop you? So yeah, I don't see the pulled pork sandwich idea at $2.99 for Muslims eating free is gonna work out real well. Now, with that said, however, I mean, look, that's what a business is doing. What can an individual do? Well, you can invite a Muslim friend over to your house. You could cook them dinner yourself. I mean, there'd be a cross-cultural sort of a thing you could do. I mean, after all, invite your Muslim friend neighbor to dinner. However, as with all things, you should probably check. I don't know that I'd go this route. I do believe in decorative cuisine whenever possible, but this might be the kind of thing you want to avoid. What? You might want to avoid this altogether. I mean, I'm not saying, but I'm just saying, you know, seriously. Oh, goodness me. What else do we have here? What else do we have in the way of the merry memes tonight? Well, this one's not necessarily, I don't know who did this imaging, but man, and I don't know if they were trying to come up with James Coburn or not, but I tell you what, the fella in this picture is a dead ringer for James Coburn, early 1970s. For those of you old enough to know the reference, and I can just hear some of y'all out on X right now. Who's James Coburn? Okay. For those of you out on X or anywhere else within the sound of my voice, and you don't know who James Coburn is, you need to go watch the film The Magnificent Seven. I don't mean the Denzel Washington version of it. I mean the one done in 1960. It's 1960 or 63. But you need to watch a really cool movie. And one of the actors in that role is James Coburn. Coburn was Hollywood cool. Okay. James Coburn was one of the truly cool dudes of the 60s and 70s in Hollywood. And if his health had held up, man, I would have loved to see what he could have done. He was a great actor. But anyway, that said, I hope you guys enjoy this. I mean, seriously, let me enlarge that a little bit more. Does that guy in the picture not look like a dead ringer for a younger James Coburn? Either that or Dennis Weaver. More James Coburn than Dennis Weaver, but you get my point. Okay. But yeah, I love that one. Like I said, I don't know who came up with it or who drew it or how AI did it, but that's some pretty cool stuff right there, man. That is some pretty cool stuff. Yeah, yeah. See, I told you, James Coburn. Absolutely maybe late 60s, early 1970s, James Coburn. Real easy. Real easy. Mm-mm-mm. All right. What else have we got here? All right. Um, yeah, Democrats have already got their talking points for tonight on certain things. And going back to that voter ID bill, the Democrats have a very interesting talking point about why they should be opposed to it. And I don't know, though. I don't know if this is a winning strategy for them or not. But apparently, Chucky Schumer is going to go with it. He's going to go with this. So, Like I say, you don't understand why politicians do what they do sometimes, but there you go. There you go. All right. One last thing, and then we'll dive into some subjects tonight. As you guys know, we love to laugh here on the electronic front porch as much as possible. And you're about to see two legends of comedy. One of them, fortunately, is still with us. One of them has already passed on. For those of you who were fans of the legendary Carol Burnett show, WWG1 sent me this, and you don't get to see people who work as well together as Harvey Korman and Carol Burnett did. But if you've never seen this before, I hope you get a kick out of it.
That feels even better.
Reach newspaper.
Molly, why don't we have another kid?
Now, folks, you're watching them laugh, and if you're for those of you who are a little younger, and you sit there go, well, they can't be very good at what they're doing. They're cracking each other up, blowing the whole skit. No, this is what used to happen all the time on that show. Okay. Those two, Tim Conway, Lyle Wagner, Vicki Lawrence, the five of them were one of the best comedic sketch groups ever of all time. I mean, don't get me wrong. The folks at SNL have been doing it now for going on 50 years, but they've had 50 years and God knows how many comedians to do it. This group got together. Hang on. Now I got to look this up. This group got together in 1967, went for 11 years, and did some of the most memorable comedy you will ever watch. For those of you who are younger and you've never seen anything like them, go out on Rumble or on YouTube and type in the Carol Burnett Show or Carol Burnett Sketch, or type in Carol Burnett Gone with the Wind. Some of the funniest stuff you will ever watch. Oh, absolutely. And good evening, Miss Pate. Mwah. Glad to see you, darling. Can still picture my dad sitting in the recliner laughing and yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I can see my dad doing the same thing. Absolutely. Anyway, thank you to WWG1. Thank you to TBA. Thank you to everybody who's provided memes. And as always, if you're new here and you're like, man, how do I get in on the act? Hey, you see this right down here? This is my Twitter handle. Okay. If you have a meme or even a story idea that you think would be funny enough or serious enough to want to talk about or look at or laugh at, hey, tag me on Twitter on WWG1. I didn't say the whole word, but I got enough of it out that I'll give you the drink. Okay. Anyway, if you are on X and you have something you think is good, hey, tag me, or send me a DM. My DMs are open. Now the host reserves the right to use or not use what you submit, but more often than not, if you put something in there, I'll find a way to get it up on the screen. And we'll either laugh at it or talk about it, or maybe even we'll do both. I don't know. But anyway, right down there is how you do it. The Front Porch C1. Tag me on X. Let's see what you got. Let's roll with it. All right. With that in mind, speaking of rolling with it. Okay. Tonight is the State of the Union. And I've got mixed feelings about this address. I really, really do. there is a lot riding on this speech. Or maybe it's better to say there's a lot that should happen during this speech. Okay. Because right now, I mean, I say it every time I put a live stream together that there is so much going on in the world. And it's true. I've got about 4 subjects lined up right now, and I haven't even put anything about Mexico into this. Okay, with what happened over the weekend. We got a narco terrorism war going on down in Mexico right now. Started at the behest of the CIA. And oh my goodness, hold my cow. Miss Pate, thank you for the super sticker of $4.99. It's greatly appreciated, my dear. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Your generosity, as always, is much appreciated. So thank you very much. Yeah, I haven't even got any Mexico stuff up here to talk about. That's how much stuff is going on in the world right now. So going into this address to the Congress, going in, it's gonna be, I mean, interesting is probably the most diplomatic way of putting it. It's going to be a fascinating speech. It really will, for so many different reasons. You've got a narco terrorism war going on down in Mexico, more or less started by the CIA, where we went after El Mencho, some big time cartel dude down there. You've got, we are right at the 11th hour of a potential war with Iran. And let's just be straight up about this. I don't care if we do limited strikes or if we go in there and try to turn the place into a plate full of glass. It's war. We are going to be waging war against a country who never fired a shot against us. And we are potentially going to be doing it without congressional authorization. Not even a resolution authorizing the use of force. Not even a vote, not even a debate on the floor of the House or the floor of the Senate. We've got an economy that's hanging on by a thread. The average person is still feeling the pinch at the gas station, at the grocery store. You know, you've got an economy where AI is just absolutely wreaking havoc in the job market right now. You've got a lot of very serious subjects that will be talked about. Will they be talked about? I don't know. But you've got and then you've got a president who is right now, his popularity is sinking like a stone, depending on which group of people in America you talk about, and is either oblivious to the fact or just doesn't care. So this speech has a lot riding on it in terms of domestic policy, foreign policy, the midterm elections, post-midterm elections, the fate of the Middle East, the Northern Hemisphere. You know, it's just remarkable going into this thing. So what are we expected to hear tonight? Well, from our friends at justthenews.com, we've got the following. Headline: Trump in State of the Union address expected to tout the economy, domestic energy, and immigration reform. Trump will likely spend much of Tuesday's speech touting his success with the economy and how he brought the country back from, quote, the brink of disaster that Biden had left it in. Article by Kevin Killow, we have the following. Dateline, Washington, D.C. President Donald Trump will deliver his first State of the Union speech of his second term Tuesday night. The speech will begin at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The president is expected to discuss the economy, the success of his one big beautiful bill, his efforts to secure the border, foreign policy, and the state of tariffs following the Supreme Court ruling them illegal. Trump's populist tone has often carried a brash style, which has been seen as a response to the Biden-era cancel culture defined by some as wokeism. Trump may temper the tone in Tuesday's formal address, but with the midterms now roughly 9 months away, the president will likely try to bolster support for Republicans by taking aim at Democrats throughout the speech. Now, wait a minute. let's stop here for a second. If that's Trump's plan in this speech, that's a bad idea. Okay. The reason that, in part, that there is such malaise among the GOP base has nothing really to do with the Democrats. Now, you might hear that and say to yourself, well, that seems a little bit unusual. I mean, Trump's a Republican. The Democrats are the Democrats. The Democrats oppose what Trump is doing. Why shouldn't Trump take? No, Trump's problems right now are not really caused by Democrats. Trump's problems right now are self-inflicted. Okay, I'll get back to this article here in a second, but I'm not letting go of this. Trump's problems right now have more to do with how he's handled two issues over the past 8 months. One of them is the release of the Epstein files, which actually goes back to April of last year. So let's say 10 months. Okay. The release of the Epstein files, how and as a subset of that, how he talked to his base, how he turned on them, turned on allies, turned on friends, and is still bungling the whole thing, especially by letting Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, Todd Blanche, the Deputy Attorney General, and Kash Patel, the FBI Director, or excuse me, the high hockey fan, how he's letting the three blind mice handle the whole thing. Okay. That's one problem that Trump's got. The other thing that's causing such a problem with the GOP base is the bombing of Iran. Because remember what Trump ran on. We're not going to get involved in foreign wars. We're not going to get involved in nation building. We're going to take care of business at home, yada, yada, yada. What did he do about 5 or 6 months into the second term? He authorized a bombing run on the Islamic Republic of Iran. A nation, by the way, who has never fired a shot at us directly. Nah, I didn't say their hands were clean, but the Iranians, strictly speaking, have never attacked us directly. Yet we launched a bunker buster bombs to totally obliterate, remember that's what they said, totally obliterate the nuclear capabilities of the Iranian regime. And now we're right back on the edge of doing it all over again, except even bigger. Trump's problems aren't the Democrats. Taking aim at the Democrats in this speech, okay, that might serve as some nice red meat, but that's not going to get your base back. And you need to turn out your base in this election. Most of the elections that have happened since Trump came back in, the Democrats are absolutely holding the Republican candidate by the nose and kicking them in the rear end all over the place. Why? Because the base doesn't want to come out and vote for the Republican. Why? In part, they're trying to send a message to Donald Trump. So if Trump's plan in this speech is to go after the Democrats, that's proof to me you don't understand your problem. But anyway, back to the article. White House spokeswoman Caroline Leavitt told reporters Monday the president's speech will celebrate the 250th anniversary of the United States independence. Trump will likely spend the time contrasting his second term with that of preceding Democrat President Joe Biden in his first and only term. Leavitt said that Trump has brought the country back from, quote, the brink of disaster. Trump, she said, will argue that he and the Republicans over the next 3 years will, quote, finally achieve the American dream in this country again that we had in the first term, but was lost because of Joe Biden and the Democrats over the past 4. If that's the way they're going, this is a mistake. Anyway, Trump's accomplishments on the economy are expected to be a focus of the speech, and he will likely lay out a vision for economic policy in the remaining 3 years of his term. Trump will tout the successful passage of the One Big Beautiful Act and the tax cuts it provides to Americans. Affordability has become a key concern among voters, and Trump's speech is expected to delve into how his policies have made the cost of living easier on Americans. He will also bring up the rate of inflation, which has been considerably tamed compared to the sky-high rates of his predecessor. Trump is also expected to discuss the Supreme Court ruling against his signature tariff policy, Following the ruling, Trump took to Truth Social to call the ruling, quote, very intentionally divisive, and he argued the decision inadvertently gave him even more powers and strength than he had before. Going a little further into the article, immigration has been a top concern for Americans, but federal law enforcement agents have fatally shot 2 Minnesota residents last month, has left some Americans with the sense the president's efforts to deport illegal immigrants have been mismatched or too zealous. In his speech, Trump will likely tout the number of illegal immigrant deportations and how they have made Americans safer from crime. Trump's discussion on foreign policy will likely center on the possible military action in Iran, as well as the ongoing war between Russia and Ukraine. He will also boast of his administration's success in helping bring about a ceasefire in Israel's war with Hamas, amid speculation the U.S. will engage in some sort of military response to a surge in violence by drug cartel members in the country. All right, let's see what you guys got to say about all of this. Not watching. Okay. I can understand why. I get it. Let's see. Okay. That wouldn't be a bad idea. That would be a really good idea. Oh, we're going to get to that. Hold that thought, dear. We're going to get to that. Yeah, I mean, that's what Trump may be talking about. Now, that said, now something else that we've learned, and this is from thehill.com, that Trump may be, and I don't know how he's going to do this, but he's teasing the idea of another tax cut. Supposedly, this one is geared more to individuals than it is for corporations. That would be a smart move if he did it. Although I will give the Trump people, and they probably, I don't know what they're going to do with this. There's a pretty good way to kill 2 or 3 birds with one stone. And this idea is not original to me, by the way. This comes from Robert Barnes and Rich Barris, but particularly Barnes. If Trump really wants to kill 2 or 3 birds with one stone, what he ought to do is, all right, propose your tax cut, but here's the catch. The trade is this: codify the tariffs and reduce taxes on anybody in America, or not just reduce them, eliminate them on anybody making less than $250,000 a year. That would have that is a policy that, according to polling, is extremely popular. Now, what does it do? One, it codifies the tariffs. 2, it eliminates taxes. And 3, it puts the Democrats in the position of having to vote against that. If I were Speaker Mike Johnson and Majority Leader John Thune, I'd bring that bill up right now. I'd absolutely do it. Don't run it through committee, run it through both chambers, get it to Trump. It's a policy idea that enjoys broad support. And it makes sense. If you're wanting to move away from the idea of income tax being the mechanism that funds the federal government, then codify the tariffs. The trade-off is you eliminate the taxes on anybody making $250,000 or less. And in doing so, the Republicans look like geniuses for voting for it. The Democrats are put in a position where if they vote against it, they're going to have to run on that. And you've got an issue that you go on offense with. I mean, if you're going to do a tax cut idea, that's not a bad one to do it with. Now, what are some things to watch for tonight? Well, again, from our friends at thehill.com, this is an article by a writer named Niall Stanage, not to be mistaken for Nigel Farage. 5 things to watch for in the State of the Union. Number 1, what does the president say about Iran? That's a good question. I mean, I said a few moments ago, there's a lot riding on this speech. What are you going to say about Iran? Look, you have arguably the biggest floating armada in and around the Middle East that America has assembled since God knows how long. Maybe since the first Gulf War back in 93. What are you going to say about this? Are you going to talk about the possible negotiations that are going to take place Thursday in Geneva? I mean, what's the justification here? I mean, are you just going to use it as an opportunity to threaten the Iranians with the State of the Union? Are you going to give the Congress a justification for why you're doing it? Are you going to even ask them for their authority in this? I don't know. Well, let me say hello to some folk. Hello, sir. How are you? How are you? Who else just popped in? Well, there's something else you ought to talk about. He definitely ought to talk about Mexico. Be nice if he could explain himself there. Who else popped in? Yes, I thought he was there. Hello, Mr. Scott Awesome. Glad to have you here, sir. But yeah, what's he going to say about Iran? And while he's at it, is there going to be some kind of a tension? I mean, the Supreme Court justices are going to be sitting there on the front row. Trump's going to look down at them. They're looking up at Trump. Are we going to have like a moment here or something? I think it's a reasonable question. You know, and while we're at it, what else? How much is the president going to defend ICE? That's a good question. I think it's a reasonable one too. I don't think Americans object at all to the idea of deporting illegal aliens. Okay, never have objected to it. It's how you go about doing it. Yeah, see, that's what I'm sort of wondering. I mean, if you're wondering what WWG1 and I are referring to, a few years back, President Barack Obama gave a State of the Union address, and he was commenting about a ruling from the Supreme Court. I think it was on the Citizens United issue. And Samuel Alito did something that very rarely is ever done. He's sitting there going, "You lied. He's literally shaking his head going, "You're wrong. You lied." I mean, I'm not kidding. Take away my fedora and put a black robe on me, and Alito's like this. He's literally mouthing, "You're lying. You're wrong. You're lying. You're..." Never had been done before. Or let me rephrase that. If it had been done, it'd been a long time since anybody had ever heard of it. Okay, because normally the Supreme Court members just sit there very quietly during the speech. They applaud where appropriate, choose not to applaud, that sort of thing. But oh no, Alito was very demonstrative in his response. So are we going to have one of those moments? How much is Trump going to defend ICE? Like I said, I don't think people have an objection to the idea of getting rid of illegal aliens. They got an objection about how you go about doing it. And ICE and the Department of Homeland Security have not been doing themselves any favors in terms of how they're getting this done. As you guys have heard the expression, there are ways of doing things and there are ways of doing things. And depending on how you do it, you can be effective. You can also be effective and also detrimental to your own cause. That's what ICE feels like it's been for the past 4 or 5 months. Anyway, what else should we be looking for in this speech? Well, what is the message for the midterms? And this is a good question. Trump could use this speech. He could use this speech to set up the Republicans with some kind of message that they can campaign on. But that sort of begs the question, what is it? What should the Republicans campaign on? You can't win with tax cuts. I mean, don't get me wrong, people getting to keep more of their own money is always a popular issue, but it's not the biggest issue, or it's not the issue that's the most laser focused. As a matter of fact, hang on one second, folks. Good evening, my dear. Glad to have you in the house tonight. You and all those folks out there on X and all those folks everywhere else. I got to find something real fast. Hang on, folks, because this is going to bug me if I don't get it. I'm just trying to find something real fast. Hold on, folks. What I'm looking for is I thought I was going to be able to put my hands on it real fast. Anyway, what I was looking for is there's a poll recently done by the 1776 Law Center, and there are issues that could be very popular. I mean, for example, here's one of them. The idea that Congress eliminate immunity for big pharma when it comes to vaccine injury, an issue that cuts across every demographic. And if the Republicans did this, it's a winning issue. There's a bunch of winning issues out there. Just running on tax cuts isn't going to do it. They've got to have something more. And then finally, if you're the Democrats, how do you respond? Do you choose to boycott tonight? Do you not come in? I don't know. I don't know what they do. Here's my thoughts on the midterm, or I should say the State of the Union, excuse me. I know beyond the shadow of a doubt, Donald Trump is one of the best salesmen in the history of the world. And I am not saying that disparagingly or trying to be derogatory toward Trump. I'm really not. But let's just be honest about it. Trump is one of the best salesmen in the world. But every good salesman will tell you, you've got to have something to sell or no one's going to buy the product. It doesn't matter how good your oratorical skills or your persuasion skills or anything else. If you have a product that nobody wants to buy, you could be the second coming of P.T. Barnum. It doesn't matter. No one's going to buy it. Okay. That's my worry here. Trump, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong about this, but I think Trump may be under the delusion he's going to walk into this speech and he's going to wow everybody with Trump style, yada, yada, yada. And, everyone's going to be like, hey, we're going to turn this thing around, which, I mean, you expect Trump to be optimistic. Okay. That's part of his personality. That's fine. I got no problem with an American president trying to give an optimistic vision of the future. The problem is you got to have something to sell. When your base is demanding the release of the names of individuals listed in the Epstein files, and not just the release of the names, demanding arrests, indictments, investigations, and nothing's happening. When you told the American people that's what you're going to do, that's the problem. When you tell people that you're not going to get us involved in foreign wars, and then you go down to Venezuela, kidnap the elected leader of the country, bomb Iran once, and you're right on the edge of doing it again with this time enough firepower to turn the country into a plate of glass, that's a problem. When you made promises to the Maha movement, okay, and then your attorney general and the deputy attorney general are going behind, your secretary at HHS's back and undoing the good policy work that he and his folks are getting done, that's a problem. When you've got a Secretary of Commerce who's as slimy as Howard Lutnick and you're not doing anything to get rid of him, that's a problem. So what I'm saying is, look, Trump may give a fantastic speech tonight, and I hope he does. I hope he is able to find a way to turn these problems around. But his ability to turn them around is not necessarily dependent upon him either giving a speech or giving a successful speech. His ability to turn around his problems is dependent upon him changing course. I don't know if Trump's ready to do that yet or not. And again, I'm not trying to be critical of the man. I'm really not. I'm trying to be an honest broker here. I don't know if Donald Trump is ready to turn this thing around or not. We'll know if in the next couple 3 months he starts eliminating some personnel. Pam Bondi, Todd Blanche, Susie Wiles, Howard Lutnick, among others, Kristi Noem need to go, every last one of them. So, yeah, well, here's another thing that the American people are looking at. We're about to give $10 billion of taxpayer money to this Board of Peace. Really? How about places in this country where they don't have safe drinking water? To this day, Flint, Michigan. How about Palestine, Ohio? What's going on there? But yet we're going to give $10 billion to help rebuild Gaza, among other things. See, that's what I'm saying. There's a lot of angles about this speech tonight that are going to be fascinating. But I don't think, again, I'll be happy to be wrong, but I just don't know, or I don't think that Trump giving a successful speech, or let me rephrase that, a speech that is received well, I don't think the speech cures his problems. He's got to take some decisive action and reverse course on about 3 or 4 things. If he does that, he's back in the driver's seat. He'll get his base back, whether he gets it back enough in time to stave off disaster come November, who knows? But we'll see what happens. Anyway, let's see what you guys are saying. Salty Old Fart says DC is a septic tank. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. That's a good way of putting it, my friends. WWG1 says, yeah, I see. This is why I think the idea of codifying the tariffs would be fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Codify the tariffs, eliminate the taxes, and away we go. Away we go. Anyhow, all right. It's almost 8 o'clock at night, and we got about 2 or 3 other subjects to get into. So let me do a real quick commercial, and then we'll just move along. It doesn't matter to me if you're out there on X, or you're out there on Rumble, or you're out there on YouTube. We're glad to have you here tonight. My name is Brian Trippett. I am known in social media as the Front Porch Conservative, and this is the Newsroom. It's a live stream we do sometimes through the week where we get together. We talk about some of the things going on. Usually we're hanging out together on Saturday mornings for a little thing we call Front Porch Brunch. But because I'm traveling this weekend, I want to try and get in a live stream, especially with all the stuff that's going on. If you're enjoying what we're doing so far, well, you can help out by a number of different ways. Number one, go ahead and subscribe to my channel, both on Rumble and on YouTube. Also, hit the thumbs up button, leave a comment in chat, share the link around with your friends. And by the way, something I haven't mentioned in a while, hit the bell for notifications. Let's make sure that you're always aware when new stuff is coming out. So, and again, for you folks out there on X, hey, Um, that is correct, sir. I am traveling this weekend. The lady and I are spending some time together, and that is correct. There will be no live stream this Saturday morning. That's the reason, in part, why I wanted to get this one in before I left. So, no front porch brunch this weekend, but we will be back as soon as possible. That said, let us move along to our next topic. And I've been saying it for a while, and it bears repeating because there's more and more evidence of how this is shaking out. The release of the names in the Epstein files is absolutely shaking up stuff all over the world. And I don't know if you guys saw this or not the other day, but there's a headline here from the BBC.com. Let me pull this up real fast. Yeah, here it is. Lord Mandelson arrested on suspicion of misconduct in public office. Now, for those of you who don't know who this cat is, Lord Peter Mandelson is one of the biggest players in British politics. This dude is an insider's insider and has been for about 40 years or more. Okay. And I mean, he is a kingmaker. That's the best way I can have to describe it. And I'm not trying to be dramatic about it. It's true. If it weren't for Lord Mandelson, Keir Starmer does not become Prime Minister of Great Britain. If it's not for Lord Mandelson, you don't have the Labour Party's ascendancy in British politics over the past 30 or 40 years. Okay. Yet now, because of his connections to Epstein, he's got problems. Now, that sort of begs the question, what kind of problems? Well, let's get into it. Here we go. Mandelson has been arrested on suspicion of misconduct in office and is being interviewed at a London police station. A short while ago, the former minister was being seen led from his London home to an unmarked car by police officers. And let's see, do we have a story? Yeah. He was arrested at around 4:30 in the afternoon, Greenwich Mean Time, led away by plainclothes officers. He is accused of an abuse of the public's trust. Misconduct in public office is a really complicated offense. It essentially boils down to an allegation that someone who was doing a job on behalf of the British public did something seriously wrong, knowing it to be wrong. There are 4 elements, and the police must focus on during the investigation. First, police must establish whether the person they're investigating was a public officer. Well, that's Mandelson. And the incident in question was possibly part of his duties. If that's agreed to, detectives then look for evidence that the incident, that the suspect willfully neglecting to perform their duty or willfully misconducting themselves in some other way. Next question is whether the action they committed was so bad that it was an abuse of the public's trust. And lastly, if the evidence passed those 3 tests, police needed to examine whether the person is acted without reasonable excuse or justification. So, yeah, this gets real interesting. And my question is this: does Mandelson start singing to save his own neck? And yeah, this is a good point, WWG1. He's probably got dirt on everybody. Mandelson's been around British politics long enough that, yeah, he probably does have dirt on everybody. Now, will he sing to save his own neck? That's the $1 million question. And I'm not so sure yet to be determined. Now, that sort of begs the question. Mandelson, and if you don't know what his job was until recently, he was the UK's ambassador to the United States. Okay. And some people have conjectured the reason that he got that job was Keir Starmer had to find a way to reward him for helping Starmer become the next prime minister, but they couldn't give him too high a profile job in Great Britain. So the idea was, well, we'll just shuffle him off to the United States. How much trouble could he get in over there? Until, of course, everybody realized, oh, crap, He's tied to Epstein. Mandelson lost his job. Was it October of last year? Yeah, it was October of last year. And now it's come out that Starmer knew about the connections to Epstein, but did nothing about it. Now, the only question is, how much did he know? When did he know it? The very famous question that Howard Baker asked during the Watergate era. How much did the president know, and when did he know it? Well, how much did Starmer know, and when did he know it? So what happens to Starmer? Well, I found a piece at a website called the European Conservative, and I thought I'd bring this to your guys' attention. Headline: Mandelson arrest deepens Starmer's Epstein crisis. Article by Justin Tallis. We have the following. Keir Starmer was already on the defensive after admitting earlier this month that he knew Lord Peter Mandelson had remained in contact with Jeffrey Epstein following the latter's conviction for child sex offenses when he was appointed him U.S. ambassador. Now, fresh footage of Mandelson's arrest over allegations that he sent sensitive documents to the late U.S. pedophile has thrown the controversy back into the spotlight. What's more, an important parliamentary by-election is taking place in Gorton and Denton, Greater Manchester, this Thursday, February 26th. Whatever chances Labour might have had of clinging on to those seats might have just evaporated. Even the Labour-friendly Guardian newspaper accepted on Monday that the arrest will, quote, be an uncomfortable reminder of what critics say is one of Keir Starmer's worst lapses in judgment in office, his decision to appoint Mandelson to Washington. It also came just days after the arrest of Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, the former prince, again on suspicion of misconduct in public office over information in the Epstein files. This is linked to Andrew's time as trade envoy, a position he gained while Mandelson was a key advisor to then Prime Minister Tony Blair. Mandelson was held by London's Metropolitan Police for around 9 hours before being released on bail pending further investigation. He has denied any wrongdoing. Starmer seemed to bet that the resignation of his chief of staff, Morgan McSweeney, Mandelson's longtime protege, would draw a line under the controversy. Instead, it failed to stem the mounting pressure. Now, here's the last paragraph, and this one's pretty interesting. The PM is under increasing pressure to release the files related to the vetting process for Mandelson's appointment. Reports on Tuesday said that the key details may only be made public after Starmer leaves office. It is understood that separate emails between number 10 Downing Street and Mandelson discussing his relationship with Epstein will be released in March. Now, if that's true, okay, so that last sentence, separate emails between Mandelson and Starmer at number 10 Downing Street will be released in March. If that's true and they show any knowledge on the part of Starmer about Mandelson's connections to Epstein, I would not be shocked if by the end of April, Starmer is gone. He might be gone sooner than that, because and frankly, if I were Reform UK, which is the party that Nigel Farage heads up, I would absolutely be going to the floor of the House of Commons every day saying, hey, we want the files released related to how you vetted Mandelson. Okay, we want to see everything. None of this wait until you're out of office stuff. No, the people of Great Britain need to see this up front right now. Absolutely turn the heat up on Starmer. I'd do it. If I were Farage, I'd be up on the floor of the House of Commons every day just screaming at the top of my lungs to release those files. Just put the pressure on Starmer. Look, Starmer, not that I'm any expert on British politics, but this is my observation from the outside looking in. Starmer is dreadfully unpopular. He's dreadfully unpopular even inside his own party. They're just tolerating him because they can't figure out who should take the job of prime minister after Starmer's pushed out. Who do you get to do it? Because any way you go here, the Labour Party is headed for this is so true. They are dead man walking. Politically, if there was an election held in Great Britain right now, Reform UK, if the polls are to be believed, Reform UK would absolutely take a majority of the seats in the House of Commons, which is unprecedented in British politics. Because keep in mind, until about 6 or 8 years ago, Reform UK didn't even exist. They just won a handful of seats now. I think they've got maybe 4 or 5 seats in the House of Commons currently. That's how unpopular the Labour Party is in Great Britain. A party that got started maybe 6 or 8 years ago and currently only has 4 or 5 seats is right on the edge of becoming an electoral majority in the House of Commons, which means that Nigel Farage would be a heartbeat away from becoming Prime Minister. If I were Farage, I'd absolutely turn the screws on Starmer. I would. I'd make him miserable. Just make him miserable. Demand the release of the vetting files and start pushing to get those emails out before March, which granted it's only about a week away, but still, I'd make him sweat. Absolutely make him sweat. All right, that's Great Britain. Now, what's going on in Iran? Or maybe better say markets at home. Well, we turn our eyes to our friends over at CNBC. Headline: Oil pulls back as U.S.-Iran talks set to resume. Here's where the negotiations stand. Article by Emma Graham from our friends at CNBC. We've got the following. Oil retreated from a 6-month high on Monday after Oman announced a third round of talks between Washington and Tehran will continue this week in Geneva. Tensions have remained on high alert throughout the Middle East for weeks, as U.S. President Donald Trump indicated a strike on Iran could be imminent. Since then, a sense of calm has returned to oil markets after reports on Friday indicated that any strike would be limited to military installations or government sites, reducing the risk for a protracted conflict between the two countries and retaliation by Iran toward U.S. bases in the region. The geopolitical atmosphere, at least for today, is moderated a little bit, and I think that we're seeing being reflected in the pullback in prices, said Edward Bell, acting chief economist at Emirates NBD, told CNBC's Dan Murphy on Monday. Brent crude rallied to a 6-month high of $71 as Iran-related supply fears drove up risk premium. So there you go. Now, as far as the negotiations, the third round of indirect talks between Iran and the U.S. are expected to continue in Geneva on Thursday between Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi and U.S. Special Envoy to the Middle East Steve Witkoff. The talks will be mediated by Oman's Foreign Minister Badr al-Busadi. The Trump administration has been pushing for concessions regarding Iran's nuclear program since talks restarted earlier this month in Oman. Relations had been at a standstill after Trump withdrew the United States from the JCPOA in 2018. The U.S. maintains Iran cannot have nuclear weapons and cannot enrich uranium. Meanwhile, Tehran has long argued its nuclear program is exclusively for civilian purposes. Iran's Araghchi has made several appearances on U.S. networks in recent days in an attempt to communicate Iran's position. He spent over 20 minutes on MS Now's Morning Joe program on Friday. Over the weekend, Araghchi told CBS News Iran, quote, is still working on a proposal to present to Witkoff, but the country is prepared to talk and negotiate on those drafts at the meeting in Geneva on Thursday, adding there's a good chance for a diplomatic solution on the nuclear issue. Iran is committed to peace and stability in the region. Iran's President Masoud Pezeshkian said Sunday on X. So there you go. I don't know, guys. We'll see. I mean, my prayer is that we pull back from all this, because limited strikes or not, I don't really think the Trump administration, or let me rephrase that, certain elements in the Trump administration are thinking through how this could go down. Iran is not a paper tiger. Iran is not Iraq 2003. They're very smart, very cagey, very well supplied, and one of the biggest countries geographically and by population in the whole of the Middle East. And if you think back at the end of the 12-day war, the Iranians were laying down some heavy damage on the Israelis. I'm not saying the Israelis were going down for the count, but they were taking some hard licks. I do not want to see the U.S. get into this for so many different reasons. So my prayer, I hope we can find a way out of this. I really do. I do not want to see this happen. I do not. Well, I can't say as I disagree with you, dude. I really can't. I get it. I remember seeing the pictures and the videos of pre-Ayatollah Khomeini 1979 Iran. Very Western country. Very different than what it is today. Oh, God. Don't even remind me. Don't even remind me. The fact that we have one of the biggest aircraft carriers in the world and doesn't have a functioning toilet system is insane. Just insane to me. However, there is an appropriate irony to that fact if you stop and think about it. All right. What else is going on in the world? Have you guys heard about this thing going on down in Texas with U.S. Representative Tony Gonzalez? I tell you what, I have never, well, no, I shouldn't say that. Okay. Let me give you guys the story if you haven't seen this yet. From NPR, GOP rep Tony Gonzalez faces pressure from party over affair allegations. Article by Claudia Grisales and Barbara Sprunt. We have the following. U.S. Representative Tony Gonzalez is facing mounting pressure from within his own party to resign amid new details of an alleged affair between the Texas Republican and a staffer who later died by suicide. At least 5 House Republicans have called on Gonzalez to either resign or end his bid for re-election after explicit text messages surfaced from Gonzalez to then employee Regina Santos Aveles, who later died after setting herself on fire. Quote, "America deserves better. Tony should drop out of the race," posted Texas Republican Brandon Gill on Monday. Representative Anna Paulina Luna from Florida agreed, writing, "Tony, you should drop out of the race." GOP Representative Lauren Boebert of Colorado and Nancy Mace of South Carolina have called for Gonzalez to resign. They were joined on Tuesday by Representative Thomas Massey, who said in a statement that he pressed Gonzalez to resign immediately. Gonzalez did not respond to a request for comment, but the congressman has denied the allegations. The controversy comes as Mike Johnson is clinging to a razor-thin majority in the lower chamber. Republicans currently hold a 4-seat majority, and there is speculation additional members with retirement plans could leave ahead of this year's midterm elections. Gonzalez is already facing a probe into the alleged affair by the Office of Congressional Conduct, an independent House office, according to a source familiar with the matter, who was not authorized to discuss it publicly. The OCC is expected to turn over their findings to the House Ethics Committee in the coming weeks. Gonzalez is in his 3rd term representing Texas's 23rd Congressional District, a seat in southwest Texas. He faces a tough primary contest on March 3rd and could be headed to a runoff in a repeat against Republican YouTuber Brandon Herrera, who only lost to Gonzalez by 350 votes in 2024. Herrera, the vocal gun rights supporter known as the AK guy, drew the backing of several Republicans, including member of the ultra-conservative House Freedom Caucus. Yeah, there's some sordid details, which I am not going to go into. Let me give the GOP a piece of advice. Not that you guys are going to listen to me anyway, but just get Gonzalez to drop out. Let Brandon Herrera have the seat. We got to defend our incumbents. You don't want to defend this guy. Look, I'm not going to necessarily go into all the details of the Tony Gonzalez affair. Large capital A and small letter A. But let me tell you something. When you start digging into the details of this thing, it is sordid, it is ugly, and they need to get rid of him. Look, it's not like the GOP hasn't forced people to drop out before. And if they're really serious about keeping their majority, this guy got to go. Sorry, he got to go. But that's just my opinion on the matter, for what it's worth. All right. How about something on a lighter note? There is a new movie coming out, which, believe it or not, is going to star a nationally known politician. Apparently, Gavin Newsom is about to get into the movie business post-retirement from politics. Matter of fact, we've got a copy of the trailer for his new film. If you haven't seen it yet, check this out.
Who's the blackest governor in these United States, y'all? Who's the piece of shit who destroyed California, y'all? Who likes to watch as his wife has sex with Harvey Weinstein, y'all? Damn right.
Now, personally, I'm hoping that they come up with a better trailer than that. I don't know how that's going to go over with certain audiences. Now, if you're wondering what is being referred to here, okay, Gavin Newsom was giving a speech in Georgia, okay, as he's going around promoting a book that he's recently written, or maybe it's better to say that somebody wrote for him. And he's having a conversation with an interviewer, an African-American gentleman, in front of a predominantly African-American audience. Okay. Now, if you haven't seen this yet, get ready, because talk about somebody stumbling over their own 2 feet. This is going to be a really good example of how that works. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, here we go.
I'm not trying to impress you. I'm just trying to impress upon you. I'm like you. I'm no better than you.
Why is he speaking in such an affected way? Somebody explain that to me. What's with the I am trying to impress upon you that I am like you? What's he trying to do? A William Shatner impersonation? I mean, what is this? He's trying out for Star Trek or something? Anyway, back to the clip.
I'm a 960 SAT guy. And
so I'm no different than you. Look at the look on this guy's face. He's not happy. He's not happy at all. I'm just like you. I'm a 960 SAT guy. He's speaking in front of a black audience, and he's trying to convince them that he's just like them. I could have come up with a better way of doing it.
And I'm not trying to offend anyone, trying to act all there if you got 940. But literally a 960 SAT guy. I cannot, you've never seen me read a speech, because I cannot read a speech. Maybe the wrong business to be in.
Now, to be fair, in part, what he is referring to is dyslexia. Gavin Newsom, if you go on a little further with this clip, has had and still has a very serious case of dyslexia. Has had it for years, ever since he was a kid. Okay. This is one of those moments that you chalk up to there are ways of saying things and there are ways of saying things. And he did not think before he uttered these words. And if he had, it would have fallen under the category of be careful how you phrase this. Think about where you are. He did neither of those things. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Hey, Motard, how you doing? Good to see you. A tip of the fedora in your direction. Glad to have you in the house. Yeah, and this is how it came across. Me dumb like you. Look, Gavin has got enough of an uphill fight trying to become the nominee of the party. But, you know, stuff like that ain't helping matters. Is really not helping matters. However, I will say this. The book tour is apparently giving him some time to catch up on reading of his own. Matter of fact, we found out he's got several different things he's trying to catch up on. He hasn't had a chance to read through these days. So, you know, yeah, I can't read a speech. Apparently, you can't read a book either. Oh boy. Oh boy. Poor old Gavin. I almost feel sorry for him. Mind you, I said almost. Now, speaking of somebody, however, that I feel sorry for, and I have to thank Gypsy for this. Has anybody lately heard from Nicole Shanahan? I don't know if you guys saw this or not. Now, I will thank Gypsy for sending this to me. And I said I'd try and squeeze this one in. This is a X post from a young lady named Lauren Lee, and she says the following: "This is a formal wellness check on Nicole Shanahan, RFK Jr.'s former running mate. She hasn't been seen since October. She announced that Maha had been infiltrated and then went silent. Now we all know, where is she?" That's a good question, because nobody, and I mean nobody, has heard a peep out of this woman for months. I don't quite know what to make of that. I mean, as far as I know, she's fine. You know, I think Grok was asked the question. Grok was asked about this, and I'll pop this up on screen. Nicole Shanahan has posted since October 23rd, 2025, and that's likely the wellness checks. In recent 2026 report, shows her executive producing The Rash, a satirical COVID response comedy film with Jay Bhattacharya, and funding the recall campaign against LA Mayor Karen Bass. She stayed involved in health activism and philanthropy behind the scenes. Well, okay. Hopefully she's doing well. I agree with you. I absolutely agree. But a little bit disconcerting. It would be nice to hear from Nicole for so many different reasons. It really would. Truly it would. All right. Now here's something a little bit fun for you. How many of y'all out there have got a Roomba or some type of mechanical device that automatically does your vacuuming? Okay. How would you like to be the mastermind that controls all of them around the world at once? Well, apparently somebody got close enough to do it. This is from Breitbart, and I got to thank WWG1 for this one. Robo Army. Man accidentally takes over control of 6,700 plus robot vacuums worldwide while hacking his own. All right, I gotta hear this. This is too good. Article by Lucas Nolan. We've got the following. A man inadvertently gained control over thousands of internet-connected robot vacuums while attempting to modify his own device to work with a PlayStation controller. The inadvertent hack provided the man with access to detailed floor plans and even live camera feeds from the Chinese-built robots. Tom's Hardware reports that a significant security vulnerability in DJI Romo robot vacuums has been exposed after a user accidentally obtained unauthorized access to more than 6,700 devices worldwide while working on a personal modification project. The security breach allowed access to sensitive information, including detailed floor plans, live camera feeds, microphone audio. Oh, now that's really the moment you ought not be saying something. Microphone audio and remote control capabilities of the affected vacuum cleaners. Some security researchers have speculated that the man accidentally accessed a, quote, backdoor added by the Chinese company to enable spying. The discovery was made by Sami Adufal, an AI strategist who was using Claude Code to reverse engineer the communication protocol between his DJI Romo robot vacuum and its servers. His intention was simply to enable control of his device using a PlayStation controller. However, the process unexpectedly provided him with access to credentials to approximately 6,700 robot vacuums deployed on multiple continents. Adufal emphasized that his actions did not constitute hacking in the traditional sense. Quote, I didn't infringe any rules. I didn't bypass. I didn't crack, brute force, or whatever, Adufal said. His approach involved only extracting the private tokens from his own Romo vacuum, which inadvertently granted access to live servers operating in the US, Europe, and China. Upon discovering the vulnerability, Adufal acted responsibly by immediately notifying DJI about the security flaw rather than exploiting the access to compromise user privacy. DJI responded to the report by implementing several updates that addressed the primary issue without requiring any action from end users. The company deployed these fixes to secure the affected devices and prevent further unauthorized access. Boy, you guys remember the movie War Games? That's exactly what's going through my head right now. This guy is like a young Matthew Broderick. And apparently he hacks into the NORAD computer. You know, absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. Oh, my goodness. Goodness me. Well, I didn't know you had a problem with your Roomba. Well, who knows? Maybe that is what's wrong with it. I don't know. Crazy. Now that's a good question. Why would a vacuum cleaner need a microphone? I mean, what's it going? It can't hear anything while it's operating, or more to the point, it shouldn't hear anything while it's operating. That's crazy. That is absolutely crazy. Well, okay. I can understand that. I can absolutely understand that. Totally. All right. One last thing, and we'll keep it short and sweet. There's still a lot of controversy going around about Trump's tariffs and the decision from the Supreme Court. And CNN was having a discussion about this the other day. So I thought maybe you might enjoy this. So with that, we go to Jake Tapper's show, State of the Union, or excuse me, The Lead.
CNN's Vanessa Yurkevich is here. Vanessa, give us the reality check. Can President Trump impose these new tariffs?
Yes. Yeah.
Put yourself off the ground. I said, young man, 'cause you're in a new town. There's no need to be.
Those were the days. Those were the days. Anyway, all right, folks, it's about 8:30, and you guys are going to need a little bit of time to tend to housekeeping matters before the State of the Union. I want to thank you guys for stopping by tonight. I duly very much appreciate it. Doesn't matter to me if you're on X, if you're on Rumble, if you're on YouTube. Thank you for being here tonight for the newsroom. For me, this has been a load of fun, and I hope you've enjoyed it too. I want to thank Pate, as always, for the super sticker. And thank you guys for all the support, be it in the form of memes, be it in the form of story ideas, whatever. You guys are totally awesome. The best audience out there on the internet. As I say, I will be traveling this weekend, so no front porch brunch. So you guys have a great rest of your week. Enjoy the State of the Union, and we will probably get together sometime next week and talk about it. But in the meanwhile, you guys have yourselves a great Tuesday night. Love all of you guys out there. And yes, hit the thumbs up on your way out, daggone it. And go ahead and subscribe to the channel. You know you want to anyway. Anyway, have a great rest of your Tuesday night. Have a great rest of the week, a great weekend. And remember the words of that great American philosopher, Tom T. Hall, when he said, "It's faster horses, younger lovers, older whiskey, and more money." Love you guys very much. Thank you for being here, and have a great night. Well,